Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Mark Fuller, Free World Order, another video archive for the books. I've been pretty consistent making these videos. I try to do a video every day with some thought-provoking content to get people thinking, to get people dialoguing and talking. I try to bring up subject matter that is interesting enough for people to want to discuss and to talk about, really to get them to think. It's not so much that I'm giving my opinion on how I feel about these topics, but more so I want to open up the dialogue and just get people thinking and talking about what it is that we're doing in our lives and on this planet at this point in time. Before I get into my topic, I want to thank everyone for liking the Facebook page, for subscribing to us on YouTube, and for contributing to the Free World Order platform financially through monthly contributions. That is going to be a tremendous help with getting us closer and closer to our goal of raising $1 billion to build the first resource-based city in the world on this planet. It will be a city where no money will be used. Instead, we will utilize the resources of our planet combined with science, technology, and the best that we have to offer as humanity in order to produce and to provide for every human being without a price tag. That pushes me right into my topic for today. Is it life that is not fair, or is it this system that is not fair? Is it life that's not fair, or is it this system that is not fair? Many times when you talk to people and just have a basic conversation, you begin to realize that people only talk about what is on the surface of their brain at the moment. People tend to talk at you instead of actually talking to you. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just the way that things happen to be structured in our society that almost prevent people from thinking and using their brain independent of the way that the system is coercing them to use their brain. In other words, it's like there's programming that goes on through television, through the media, and just through the reinforcement of conversations that people have with one another. People don't know anything better or other than what they are used to. So when you introduce new ideas or new concepts that go against what they're used to being a reality for them, they typically don't want to hear it. They're intimidated by it. They're threatened by it, and they're immediately on the defensive. That's what my experience is most of the time. If I try to talk to someone, like say I walked up to somebody on the street and just started, talking about, you ever think about if everything was free in our society? Like just say that I walked up to someone and sparked up a conversation like that. First thing that they would do is, well, no, things can't be free. Someone has to pay for it. Not fully understanding what they're even saying. They're just saying what they are used to. People are used to having to pay in order to receive things. And it is true to some degree, but it's not true to the degree that it has to be an actual material Well, it's not even material now. Money is not material. It's electronic. It's digital. It's an idea that is just continuously reinforced in our society as the means of exchange. The value that it has is the value that we give it. So it is the medium that we use to pay for things. But there's an alternative way to do things. Because when you look at life, you are looking at life from the perspective of the system that we're living in. So when you say things like, oh, well, life's not fair, what we're really saying is that the system that we're using is really not fair. The systems that we are using in this world is not fair to people, because what does fair mean? Fair means that everyone is accounted for. Fair means that there's a level, I'm not going to say equal, but there's a level, there's a, whatever people need, their needs and their necessities are provided for. That's fair. That's the definition of fair, or what would be fair in this system. Is that what we have? No. It's not what we have, because there is a disproportionate amount of distribution of wealth that tends to go towards people that already have wealth. And how have people acquired wealth over time? Let's just look at that for a moment. It's just like, how have wealthy people gotten wealthy to begin with? Many of them have achieved wealth through corruption, through theft, through murder. I'm talking about over time. When you look at rich families, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, the DuPonts, Lehman Brothers. I mean, I can go on and on. How did these people ultimately achieve their wealth? People would say, things like, oh, well, they did it through the banking system, or, they did it through investing. Nah. You have to remember that in America alone, you had something called slavery, and slavery was forced labor. Forced labor, not voluntary labor. It's not something that black folk volunteered to do. It was forced upon black people. And the way that it was done was horrific. Folk were really, literally taken from one part of the world, shipped on boats as if they were cargo to another part of the world. And in that transition, all types of things were done to ensure that the labor force, once it was built here in the Americas or wherever black people were dropped off at, would be able to sustain the necessary labor needed for wealth to be created. So whether it was sugarcane or cotton that needed to be picked, whatever it was that needed to be done at that time, the labor force was used to do it. And the labor force was human beings that were enslaved to do it. Black people. In a nutshell, that's pretty much the history of how black people even got to be in America. That's how we got to be here. So that's just one example. Now, again, if we're saying, well, life is not fair, what does it mean? What does it mean? It means that the systems that are being used definitely are not fair, because it does not distribute the resources and the things that people need in a manner where everyone is provided for on every level, not just your basic need, but we're talking about education. We're talking about information that is readily available in order for people to make educated decisions, things of that nature. So when you examine life, what you're really saying is life as you know it. Just like another example, today, life in America is absolutely nothing like life in some of the third world countries where people don't have the same type of potential for a way of life. It's not even anywhere near the same. So someone born and being raised in a third world country, is life fair to them when they are in a position of having to survive literally daily on little or nothing, like not having access to clean water, not having access to food, and struggling to survive, not struggling to live according to the status quo of the society like we have here in America. In America, there's always a way. Regardless of how down and out that you might be, there's always a way for you to work your way up to a better standard of living for yourself and for your family if you work at it. And no, it's not an equal distribution system. Yes, we're dealing with capitalism and all of these types of things. And really, people here in America don't realize how powerful they really are as consumers, because our dollars is what is keeping this system going. So if this system is perpetuating what we're seeing elsewhere in the world, because the system that we're keeping up here in America is a monetary based capitalistic system. It's based on corporations producing and manufacturing goods, and the people that work and the people that don't work using their money to purchase those goods, which continues to fuel the engine that we call capitalism here in America. It's consumerism. It's consumerism, and people are programmed and they're mentally manipulated in so many different ways through advertising, through the media. It's a very subtle thing that is done to people over and over again, using television, using media outlets. They keep you focused on certain things intentionally by putting it on the news. It's a lot that I can get into, but the bottom line and the most important thing of what I want you guys to get out of these videos when I make them is that when we look at ourselves and we look at life and we say things like life is not fair, it's up to us to make life fair, not just for ourselves, but for other people that exist on the planet with us. As long as we continue to not have concern to the point where we're actually looking at or looking for an alternative that provides for all people versus what we have now, which is a system that does not and is not capable of providing a high standard of living for all people. This system is not capable of doing that. And in other words, everybody in this system can't be rich. Everybody in this system cannot live a rich lifestyle according to the way that people identify a rich lifestyle. Like what do you call rich? When you say rich, do you mean all of your needs are, provided for, but you're not a person that is greedy where you need 10, 20 cars? Or does rich mean to you as many cars as I want to have? You see what I'm saying? So rich, technically in this system, is when you have more money than you can spend. Not to say that you can't spend it, but you have more money than is necessary to sustain yourself and to sustain your family indefinitely. Like if you're a multi-millionaire, you're going to naturally live a better lifestyle than the average person does because you have amassed a large amount of money within the system. But it doesn't mean that your lifestyle is something that other people are going to be able to achieve. So the false hope that's given to people when they see rich people is that, wow, one day I want to do that. I want to achieve that type of success. I want to live that type of lifestyle. But you're seeing something that is not part of the natural order of things. Because for somebody to be extremely rich and then other people to have nothing, or to have a very low standard of living, like you got a few people here very rich and you got millions of people here struggling. The disproportionate amount of the wealth distribution creates all of the effects that you see, like crime, violence, within this society I'm talking about. This has nothing to do with, well, it's human nature. No, it's not human nature. There is no such thing as human nature because humans respond to the environment that they're in. So if you are brought up, raised, and exposed to an environment of poverty, your behavior is going to be different than a child born into a rich, wealthy family that goes to the best schools, has the best food available to them, has unlimited resources available to them. They can do what they want when they want to. They can wear the kind of clothes that they want to wear. They look rich. They look like money. Their behavior is going to be different from the behavior of the children that, can barely get school lunch when they go to school, depending on their parents' situation. And I'm just presenting different scenarios, but the bottom line is that people always equate what their experience is to the entire world, and we can't do that. You can't say, oh, well, we live real good here in America. Thank God we weren't born in one of the third world countries. Well, if people living in third world countries are human beings suffering, and it's as a result of systems that are being used that are all interconnected, because the same system that we're using here in America is a part of the same system being used in governments where these people live. So it means that we're giving and we're enabling the system that creates disproportion to continue to go on. And that's what is creating the quote unquote life is not fair. That's what creates the life is not fair environment for other human beings and for ourselves. And we will continue to perpetuate that until we realize that there's an alternative way of doing things. And that alternative is resource-based economy. Because just think about it. What's the one thing that was here before you were born? The planet, the earth. What's the thing that's going to be here after you die? The planet, earth, still going to be here. You're still going to have all of the resources. I mean, think about it. All of the new technology that exists is as a result of the ingenuity of mankind and the way that we think as human beings, right? We are always constantly thinking and evolving in our thought. So people will say stuff, oh, well, he's a genius. He is a genius to the degree that he is using his brain power to be creative. Every human being is capable of that. You're not special because you're smart. The reason that you're smart is because you have been educated on some level, and your ability to retain information and to learn and to regurgitate information might be at a higher level than the next person. So it may seem like you're smarter than them, when in reality, as long as you have the same brain functionality and the same level, well, I'm not gonna say the same exact level, but you have a level of intelligence and ability to use your brain. You can be taught to do anything. You can be trained to do anything. You can be programmed to do anything. And then that is what creates what we experience in our lives and in the world that we're creating. It's like we're creating the world as we go along. We're either enabling others or we're empowering ourselves by using our own brain. And that's what is happening in this society. Most people are not using their own brain. Their brain is being programmed from outside of them by all of the media, all of the information, all of the jargon and the talk and the things going on around you outside of yourself in your environment. All of that influences you and it comes into you. But until you actually use your brain to relate to the things around you, you're not actually going to be as productive as you should be as a human being. And that's what we're seeing now. So most people spend most of their time working on a job, right? Following orders, following a pattern of repetition, doing the same shit over and over again every day. That's what a job is for human beings. It's repetition. The same thing over and over again. You work in a restaurant, you're cooking every day. You're a waitress, you're doing that shit every day. You see what I'm saying? So it's not opening up your creative ability as a human being at all. But anyway, I don't even know how I started talking about all that. But bottom line is, the reason that life ain't fair is because the system is not fair. Life is a beautiful thing because the fact that we're here means that we're able to create the world around us. But the world around us is going to be a direct reflection of us. So the world around us is, well, what are we actually doing? We're actually cooperating with these systems that have been put in place that don't benefit everyone. And we need to make a change to that. We need to alter that. So there is an alternative to that. And the alternative to that would be a system that provides for all people, not a system that just provides for some and leaves everyone else to fend for themselves, so to speak, and to survive and to just get by. You understand? So that's what the free world order is about. It's about creating an abundant lifestyle, an abundant standard of living for every human being on our planet. It doesn't make sense to not do that. It does not make sense to not. So anything that y'all talk about that's not that, you got a problem. There's fault. There's fault and there's insufficiency with whatever you're talking about that does not give the highest standard of living to every human being on our planet. Every person. Every person. Every person. If you're talking about a system that, this system works like this, and when people do this, and they'll get that, and the way that you get it is you do this, and no, get that shit out of here. You'll see what it is that this system that we're using now is producing. The system creates people that become murderers, people that become thieves, people that do crime on all levels. All levels. What does it create? Pedophiles and psychopaths? Yeah. It all stems right back to the root. Because we're operating in a system where there's always disproportion. So when people are living in certain conditions, their behavior reflects the conditions that they live in. It's that simple. Why don't y'all get that? I don't understand why people still argue about this. That's a fact. You're a product of your environment, period. If you are living in a fucked up environment, how are you going to act? You're going to act fucked up. You're not going to be mentally right, are you? You're going to be fucked up in your head if you grow up and you're raised in a fucked up environment. That's it. You're a product of your environment. Point blank, period. We want to change the world. We got to change the environment of the world. Oh, well, we can't do it. They got military and this. Military are people. Government are people. People respond to people. It's the masses of people really that have the power and don't know it. It's us collectively. Us collectively have the power to change the world. It's not the government Oh, well, the government is a system and the system is this and blah, blah, blah. The system and the government is what we make it. We're giving the government power. You're giving the government power. And the government is only a body of individual people. That's all it is. It's not this separate entity separate from you. It's people. All right, so I'm going to end this video on that note. You guys take care. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, contribute to us financially, help us reach our goal of raising $1 billion to build the first city. When we get this first city built through the Venus Project and people begin to see what is possible as far as existing on this earth without money, but actually using the resources of the earth to provide an abundant standard of living for all people. That's a huge difference. Huge. If you're not worrying about working on a job and spending your time trying to chase money to pay bills, how much more productive can your life be? Think about that. Think about it. If you're not spending all of your time working on a job, trying to accumulate money to pay bills or to save for the future, what else could you be doing that's productive to contribute to mankind, to contribute to our world, this environment, and the planet that we live on? What else could you be doing? A whole bunch of shit. There's so much education and information that's technical that people don't know. It's like you see when new technology comes out, you'll see all of these new phones that come out. You think that technology is new? The phones that came out this year, they probably had sitting on the shelf somewhere for the last 5 years. They don't introduce it because it's not profitable for them to introduce it into the marketplace. Until it's profitable, they won't put it out. But look at how that's holding back society. We should be using cars right now that don't use gas. We should be in our homes and have energy that's not using oil. We got solar power, we got geothermal, we got wind, we got wave in the water. It's all type of energy that we can be using that's free. But anyway, make sure that you subscribe, like us on Facebook, get yourself a monthly contribution plan. Help us raise this money to build this first city. I am Mark Fuller. I'm out. Deuce.